The attacks on her personally, on whatever her past personally may have been, or calling her a childless lady, none of those are going to work, and they're going to make women second guess their support for what they may have felt for Donald Trump.
Some Republicans are expressing buyer's remorse over Trump's vice presidential pick, JD Vance. From his lack of charisma to awkward comments on the trail to his downright awful and misogynistic language, there's a lot not to like about JD Vance. And while some party loyalists are standing behind him, new reporting by The Hill found that many Republicans in Congress are quietly expressing doubts about Vance. And we have some of those comments for you. One House Republican said, "He was the worst choice of all the options. It was so bad, I didn't even think it was possible. Anti-Ukraine, more of a populist. He adds nothing to the Trump ticket. He energizes the same people that love Trump." A second House Republican said, "I think if you were to ask many people around this building, 9 out of 10 on our side would say he's the wrong pick. He's the only person who can do serious damage." And some even feel that Vance might cost Trump the race. A third House Republican who said there is major dissension to Vance in the conference argued that if Trump falls short to Vice President Harris in November, Trump's vice presidential selection will be to blame. But these are just opinions. Let's take a look at the actual data and how he compares to bad vice presidents in the past. Take a look.
You know, you mentioned Sarah Palin. How about Dan Quayle as well? These are two folks who I think most people remember as not being particularly popular. The amazing thing was coming out of their conventions, they actually were pretty popular. Quayle with a plus 15-point net favorability rating. Sarah Palin with a plus 26-point net favorability rating. Again, Vance at minus 5 points is just off the charts and falling off the chart in the wrong direction. Not up above the chart, but down below the chart. The fact is, he is historically unpopular, even more so than VP nominees who of course went on to infamy.
So we are talking about a uniquely bad nominee for vice president, and his comments, of course, are offensive. And I want to bring you in here with the circumstances as bad as they are for this ticket. Do you think there's any possibility that Trump drops JD Vance?
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
I mean, honestly, with this election cycle, I feel like anything is possible. And if Trump really does feel like Vance is a liability and is dragging down the ticket, I have no doubt that he would try to push him out and replace him. But I am enjoying every minute of Vance's awkwardness. I love that he keeps stepping in it. It is incredible that it took this long for people to wake up to how extreme he is in terms of his policy proposals and how harmful they are to families and women in particular. People seem to take a lot of offense, including individuals on the right, with the notion that he would, provide more political power to couples who have children, they more of a vote in our political system as opposed to those who do not have children. I noticed that Dave Portnoy today was just raging about him on Twitter because he essentially wants to provide tax cuts for families with children, which, by the way, is a thing already and has been a thing. And I guess he would just want to increase taxes on childless couples or childless individuals in order to punish them and incentivize them to have kids. But I'm loving every minute of the reaction on the right to JD Vance, not only because of the hideous things he's saying about women. I think that's important to focus on, yes, but he has positioned himself as someone who's looking out for the average Joe. The reason Trump chose JD Vance is because the thinking was that he would appeal to those living in the Rust Belt. However, it appears that the Republican electorate, for the most part, is kind of rejecting that, in my opinion, faux economic populism coming from JD Vance. So one of my biggest worries was that the Republican Party would realign itself as the party of working class voters. And it appears that with the pushback that Vance is getting, they're gonna move away from that message. But yeah, I mean, his comments about women is disgusting. And I'm glad that people are waking up to how extreme he is.
I just feel like, I think anything from the Republican Party worried about what JD Vance says about women doesn't sound true. I mean, Donald Trump's your nominee. let's be serious. What can be more harmful than having Donald Trump, the president who actually is responsible for ending Roe v. Wade, at the top of your ticket? And do I think he would get rid of Vance? Absolutely. Donald Trump actually is, it seems like he's setting up the apprentice, the vice president version of the apprentice right now. He absolutely would love the idea that he could fire somebody and create noise and tell people that J.D. Vance was never his pick. It was somebody else like his son or whoever he could throw under the bus, and how he never liked the guy, etc. I don't think Trump is looking for someone that can bring out the middle of America or any demographic for that matter. Trump is looking for someone that he could see that is weak enough to follow everything he tells him to do. And J.D. Vance checks those boxes the way he roll over on issues. You see, he has no spine. So he's perfect for the Trump camp, the coat. Here's what's amazing to me though. The idea that a party that has no platform is worried about what J.D. Vance is going to do as it pertains to causing Trump the election. Trump's going to cause Trump the election. Trump is extremely, when it comes to elections, the worst person to pick. He won one election. And every election after that, they lost. If Trump endorses you as a Republican, it's damn sure almost nearly a fact that you're going to lose your election. It's the worst thing to do to be associated with Trump in this political climate. And people don't want to acknowledge that. And then you have to measure on top of that, all of the new people that have been introduced to our electorate and those that have been removed. So many baby boomers since Trump first came on the political scene are no longer voting because they are unalive. And then there are so many new Zers that are eligible to vote since Trump came on the scene, and I think people aren't counting it into the math. Trump is going to be the reason he loses, not J.D. Vance.
So let's explore that. I think, Anna, your point was a good one. We're in a very weird circumstance. We're in a very weird election and cycle. So what would it look like if Trump actually did replace J.D. Vance? So each party has their own rules, and under Rule 9 of the Republican National Committee explains how it fills a vice presidential vacancy, which may occur as the result of death, declination, or otherwise. The rule also allows the party to reconvene its national convention if it chooses to move ahead with a vote of the smaller group of Republican National Committee members who would determine Vance's replacement. But if they do shake things up, they would need to do so quickly, because early voting starts in 4 states in late September, and 9 more begin in the first 10 days of October. So this is a very tight timeline if they do want to shake things up. And let's say hypothetically they do. Anna, they didn't really balance the ticket here. Who do you think they would look to fill Vance's spot?
Honestly, I'm not sure. There's a lot of talk about how Burgum would have been a much better pick. He seems more stable and he's definitely calmer than Trump. I don't know how much weight I would put behind those arguments. What I do know is that, if Trump, what's clear is that Trump wants to run away from the abortion issue. To your point, Mondale, you're absolutely right about that. The reversal of Roe definitely cost Republicans politically, which is why Trump is going out of his way to moderate his messaging on reproductive rights. He's doing what he can to separate himself from Project 25, which was published by the Heritage Foundation. He's really trying to present himself as like more of a moderate figure. And he's doing that at a time when he chose a VP who is extreme on his issues as it pertains to reproductive rights. So he would have to pick someone who's willing to go with the flow in regard to like a moderate message on these social issues and reproductive issues. So I don't know who he would pick, but I'm enjoying the show for now. And I'm definitely enjoying the couch memes. The couch memes have actually kept me alive this week.
Yeah, the couch memes are unmatched. I told Jordan in the green room that the only people that are going to cancel JD Vance because of the couch will be like Rent-A-Center or one of the furniture companies. So here's what I would say. I think Anna's on to something when it comes to like not having a clue who Trump will replace him with and what they would be obligated to do. I do know that beyond having to moderate your thoughts on abortion as a Republican, you would also have to be blind. You have to have blind loyalty to Trump. And that's a small circle, especially when Trump started thinking about the people that he sees as opponents and people that he don't like, unless he wants to look like a hypocrite. And we know Trump really don't mind him looking like a hypocrite. So he has a good friend that is a TV personality that's never real. And Anthony Hopkins is not his good friend, but the character he played is his good friend. He talks about him at every rally. So maybe he'll pick him.
Yeah, the one other thing I have to say, because I can't emphasize how much I love this story and how I really do feel like this is good news for the future of the country, because JD Vance, when we were at the Republican National Convention, JD Vance was really thought of as the future like replica of Donald Trump. And I didn't know if that was true. Obviously, like I haven't seen him speak at length as JD Vance has in recent days. And I was worried about that because obviously you have a Republican Party who's thinking, okay, how do we prolong the Trump era? Who's the next version of Donald Trump? And it's very clear that it's not JD Vance. Like he's very awkward. He's not a good public speaker. He tries to crack jokes, they fall flat. A lot of Jeb Bush, please clap energy going on. And I love to see it. I think we all needed that. I think we all needed what we've been experiencing this week. Even if I have some issues with Kamala Harris's record and some worries about how she's gonna respond to the war in Gaza, I will say this, it's amazing to see her out there in the public, super confident, composed, competent. Like I love to see that. And I also love that she keeps clowning Trump rather than coming out to talk about how offended she is about Trump. Because mocking and clowning, I think, is more effective than constantly talking about how offended you are. And so I'm impressed with how the campaign is going so far, and I hope it continues. I get that we might just be in a honeymoon phase right now, but that doesn't even matter to me. What matters to me is how she conducts herself when she's out in the public. And she gives this I'm a leader energy while the Republican Party right now is flailing. They were totally caught flat-footed. They don't know how to respond. And so they're like tripping over themselves with all sorts of like gross misogynistic statements that's turning conservative female voters off. So I love to see it.
Yeah, I think on the JD Vance performance point, he has no juice. He doesn't have the same type of personality or aura even on stage or in crowds like Trump does. Like Trump rambles for sure. He's nonsensical and he's downright evil and corrupt, but he is a performer. JD Vance doesn't have that. Maybe that'll come with time. We have seen an interesting evolution and development. I mean, the Kamala Harris you just described, Anna, seems very different than the Kamala Harris of the 2020 primary. She's come a long way in a few years. I would hope JD Vance is not in the spotlight long enough to also grow if this is who they're trying to mold him to be. But this shows the error in this approach for the Trump campaign in building this ticket. He wanted somebody that was going to be loyal to him. He wanted somebody that's like an acolyte or an aspiring acolyte, despite past comments saying he's a terrible person and he's terrible for the country, and of course all of his other radical stances. He wanted somebody, and I think it stems from, I don't know if it's a sense of betrayal or anger or frustration or spite at Mike Pence on January 6th. I mean, he was so convinced that Mike Pence could just change the outcome of the election, and that he wasn't willing to do it, of course, led to a rift between them, led to Pence just totally dismissing him. He doesn't want a moderate who could potentially be in that situation again, or could potentially break from Trump on what Trump sees as a key issue. He wants someone that's going to be with him 100%, and electorally that doesn't make sense. That's why you see, as frustrating as it is from a progressive or a leftist standpoint, you see some of the names thrown around for Kamala's VP pick, and it's like, oh, that person's Pete Buttigieg, no thanks. But they're thinking about how they can build the biggest and potentially a winning coalition, and Trump's team just didn't do that.
That's an excellent point. And I love that you point to the contradiction of Trump needing someone who's just committed to him, unwavering in their commitment to him, while also simultaneously presenting themselves as a moderate. I'm not sure that exists. And so that contradiction, I think, is gonna be a big liability for Trump as he campaigns.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.